joining. Just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded. So glad you could all join tonight. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at the agenda. We've got a bunch of items we're going to be going through tonight. So I will entertain a motion by anyone to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
I, Thomas Golden, move to approve the minutes from the 3/18/2021 meeting.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Is there a second?
Hi, Janet, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any changes or comments on the minutes? No, okay. Josh, thanks again for sending these out, taking this for us. So we're gonna need a roll call to approve the minutes.
Hey, Ed,
Yes?
Leonie,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all. Next item is public comment. I don't see that we have anyone here from the public joining us tonight. So we'll move forward from that.
Scott just emailed the group. He can't get on the meeting.
Wonder why?
He doesn't have the link. I use.
Josh, could you send that to him again?
Yeah, I'll send it to him.
I don't know about everybody else. I go into the town's website every time and just click that link.
That's what I do as well.
So,
No, I just clicked the one from the email that Josh sends.
yeah.
Huh. All right, we'll just, I'll wait a second for him before I get into the old business so he can take part in that discussion. Janet, I have a question for you.
yep.
I don't know if you know this or not, but is the farm doing the sunrise service on Sunday? Do you know?
The churches are doing it at the farm. Technically, we're not doing it, but yes, there's at least a couple of churches. I don't know how many churches, but there's two reverends that are in charge, Central Square, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the other church, but it's not going to be as early for whatever reason. They picked 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to be a short service, and they are stressing that everybody needs to wear masks and physical distancing. There won't be
Okay.
any refreshments, no coffee or anything like usual. So
Ah,
they are having it. They're just requesting everybody, be cautious, and they do need to wear masks and social distance.
gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I was wondering. I was
Yep.
gonna text Linda, but hadn't got around to it. So
Yeah, no, yeah, they are. David will be the welcomer, doing the first speaking, and then, but it's not going to be long. I guess it's like a half hour or so, not like they used to. So
why did they push it off to 8? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know
Yeah.
what the reasoning behind it was. I don't think it makes any difference personally if it's 6:30 or 8 as far as COVID or anything, but
Right.
there was some reason, I don't know what.
I see. Okay.
It's their
All
decision.
right. There is Scott.
Hello.
Hey, Scott.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you.
All right. We were just about to get into the old business item on the agenda, Scott. So we'll begin with the timeline review. I just wanted to review that with you all again to show you the progress we've made and what we've got planned. So let me share my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so everything in green basically is what we've completed. We had some follow-ups from last meeting on Article 9, which we're going to reconvene on tonight. That's why that's in yellow, but we should be able to complete those items. And then we should also tonight start looking at the decision matrix. I don't think we'll get completed with that tonight, but we should be able to complete it by our next meeting, which is next Wednesday. Then on the 21st, we begin to prepare for the public forums. We're going to hold the public forums in early May, first couple of weeks of May. We'll get those scheduled on the 21st. And then we'll have our final second voting, hopefully on the May 19th. Once that's done, then we can begin to draft the final report and then schedule a review with the council. So I think we've made some great progress, and I think we're pretty much on schedule to complete, in the May timeframe, and then perhaps go before the council either late May or June. Okay, so just wanted to review that with you tonight. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay.
I won't be at the April 21st meeting. I'll be away.
Okay, thank you, Cleone. All right, so that covers the timeline. The next item on the old business, we had a follow-up from our last meeting on terminology to use in the charter when referring to Mass General Law. So I did some research on that, and I'm going to share my screen again. I did research on that and pretty much found that what you see in the yellow here, it seems to be the common way of referring to any reference to anything in Mass General Law. So it's M period, G period, L period, CH period, the chapter, and then the section. And the section is referred to with that special character. So what I did was I went through the entire charter, found all the occurrences of MGL, and put in these sort of reformatted version of what it should look like. And I think there's like 7 or 8 of those in here. So this was the first one. And I don't know if we want to approve them separately or just go through. I can show you all of them, and we can approve them in bulk if you'd like to do that.
That little squiggly line, I'm gonna call it a squiggly line. I don't know what it's called otherwise. I mean, if that's the way it needs to be, that's the way it is. I'm thinking in my terms, I would never know what that squiggly line meant. Now I know it means section now, but I wouldn't, the common person, average person probably wouldn't know what that means, but if it has to be in there to make it, I don't know if legal wouldn't be the right word, but if you know what I mean, if it needs to be that way, it needs to be, but the only comment I have would be to keep the word section, but that's
Okay.
my feeling.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be there for any legal reason, Janet.
Right.
It can be whatever we want it to be. I'm just saying this is the way it's
Okay.
commonly referred to.
Okay.
It's a symbol that reflects the S for section. Scott, you may know more about it than we do at this point. You know what that symbol is called?
It's called the section symbol. I'm sure it has some, there's probably some Latin word for it or something, but it's commonly referred to as, it's just read as section.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think the average person is not going to necessarily know what that means. I'm educated by it now, but
Right.
I'm thinking of people that are townspeople that are if they do take the time to read this, they may not necessarily know what that means.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we could extend that logic through the whole thing. People reading it, seeing MGLCH 268A squiggly line 19. The average person may not know what that means. The MGL portion could throw people off.
Could the MGL be in the definitions?
Yeah, I mean, we could put an entire example of it in the definitions.
I think that's a good idea, right? Explain it away.
MGL, it means Mass General Law.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
chapter blank and then the section symbol.
yeah, just have an example up there that would say, you know, Massachusetts general laws are notated in this charter as MGL, you know, and just define it that way. And chapter CH equals chapter, you know, 268A is the number of the chapter, and then section 19. And then
Okay.
just have it as an explanation up at the very top. And
I think that's a great idea. Do we want to do that now? Or would you? Okay,
yeah,
Yeah, that way it wouldn't be, you know, for people like myself who wouldn't be educated otherwise.
right. I mean, this entire charter is for the people of Bridgewater. So I think you make a very valid point there.
oh, it should have been below.
Well, that brings me to on the definition, since we're here. We still need to update the alphabetical order of them, because like city official is way down yonder. Not up by the C's, it's down in the O's. I think there's some things that are not quite alphabetical.
Can I just make a recommendation before we spend time moving stuff around? We should probably have it as an agenda item. If we're
Right.
gonna,
Yeah, I'm not going to do it now.
okay,
So
I
what should this be called? Just MGL or Mass General Law? Or how do you want to refer it?
I was thinking more of a like an asterisk at somewhere in the definitions or explanations, just an asterisk that says all references to Massachusetts general laws are notated using the following abbreviations.
Whoops, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Using the following
I'd say yeah,
Abbreviations.
notation, I think.
are noted using the following abbreviation.
Yeah. And we can refine that language over time. And then, yeah, MGL refers to Massachusetts general laws. And CH refers to the specific chapter of Massachusetts general laws.
Not to be picky, but does it matter if it says Mass or Massachusetts?
That's being picky.
I said not to be picky.
I can spell it all out.
Yeah. And then the section, next one would be the section symbol.
I'm gonna have to cut and paste that because obviously I don't have that on my computer.
Yeah.
So
As a shortcut on mine, because I use it all the time. But yeah, I would, yeah, just, section symbol
yeah, I'll insert that.
indicates the section of the chapter, of the chapter. And then an example.
Okay,
Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 39 or Section 19. What do we think of that?
Are you gonna put a period after the L and after the chapter?
yeah,
Yeah, we can just copy and paste from.
I'll copy and paste it. I just wanted to get in there. So what do we put over here? I heard your comment about the asterisk, but I'm almost just put MGL in there.
That's what I would think, because if you're gonna look it up, you'd say, what
Yeah.
the heck is MGL?
Yep. Okay.
All references to Mass General Laws are noted using the following abbreviation. MGL refers to Mass General Laws. CH refers to the specific chapter. The section symbol indicates the section of the chapter being referenced. Example, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's good. I'll come back and tweak it. with the symbol and stuff afterwards. So that's in there. And then again, all the references. This was the first one I found, but there were others. So do you want to go through them all?
Why don't you show us all of them and then we can make a motion and vote all at once?
Okay, here they are here. So the first one, this was the one that we just, or was it? No, that was in the definition. We just added that. Here's the 268A, section 19. This one is down in, what section is this? Section 6.4. This is MGL 44, section 31. This is in section 6.4 again. This was MGL chapter 30B, section 5. Same down there. And then we have several of them here. MGL 44, section 7 and 8. MGL chapter 44, section 19. And then here, I think this is the last one. It was in chapter, section 9.3, MGL chapter 55, section 26. And that was it.
Ed, did you look at chapter 9 dash, section 9-9, not chapter, section 9-9? It just says the procedures may available in chapter 231A of the general laws. And that's written out. Is that something that would be changed or just leave it like that? It's in the second paragraph. of
Yeah, I see it. I see it. We can change it.
Because it didn't say Massachusetts general laws, it just said general laws, and it spells everything out.
So it's right here. You all feel we should change it or leave it as is?
I think it should be consistent with the rest of the charter.
Okay. I'll change it we're going to get to this afterwards, but I'll change it up here, I guess then. So it's MGL.
Lower
CH,
CH.
231
231A.
A.
There's a period after the CH as well. There we go.
Should there be a period after the L?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, and I think you had added that section 9-9, and I think down below the paragraph, that 2 paragraphs below the, or last paragraph, I should say, it's this.
Same thing. Yeah.
same-
Where is it here?
I saw it somewhere, but unless it's after it's the next page.
All right. Okay. All right, so I think we've got it all. If we miss something, then we can always come back and change it, but someone want to move to accept the modifications to the references to Mass General laws?
I, Scott Pitta, move to adopt the changes to the references to Mass General Law, including the definition and example.
I, Janet, second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, Josh, roll call, please.
Ed,
Yes.
Leonie,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you all for that. All right, next item on old business was Article 9, Section 7. So even though last time we voted on a couple of updates to this, I think at the end of the discussion, there was still some confusion around the appointed authority and how it was all going to work. So we decided that Scott and I would talk offline on this and present maybe another option. So what you see here in the pink is what we had. And then I had an opportunity to kind of rewrite it. And what I did was I split it out into two sub-processes. One where the appointing authority is the city manager, and then one where the appointing authority is the city council. I think it makes it clearer, less confusing. So if you start at the top here, and I've added this as well, an official appointed by either the city council or the city manager to a multiple member body may be removed from office by the appointing authority if the official fails to attend regularly scheduled meetings for a period of 3 consecutive meetings without express leave from the chair of the multiple member body, unless the appointing authority shall determine otherwise. The appointed official shall be automatically removed from office if the official is convicted of a felony or if the official is absent from the duties for a period of 6 months following the conviction, notwithstanding the permission from the council president to be absent. So this is where I broke it out. A removal shall be accomplished in accordance with the following procedures. Appointing authority is the city manager. Now, I haven't changed anything in this at all. So basically, the written notice is given of intent. After 14 days of the notice, the official may request a hearing. If they fail to request the hearing, then the official shall be discharged forthwith. The official may be represented by private counsel at the hearing. Within 10 days of the hearing adjournment, the appointing authority, in this case, the city manager, may by, I guess we're going to change this, may by a majority vote remove the appointed official for good cause. So we don't need a majority vote.
yeah, that was the one that was confusing me.
So I'll delete that. So within 10 days of the hearing, the appointing authority may remove the appointed official for good cause. The notice of decision to remove and the reasons shall be delivered by mail to the appointed official. Within 14 days of the delivery of the notice, the appointed official may request a hearing before the council. If the appointed official fails to request the hearing, then the official shall be discharged. The appointed official may be represented by counsel at the hearing. Again, this is kind of repetitious, but it's a different hearing. Within 10 days after the hearing is adjourned, the city council may, by a 2/3 vote, reinstate the official, but the appointed official shall otherwise be removed. Now, if the appointing authority is the council, it's a shortened procedure because you don't have the city manager involved this time. So it's the same, basically the same process. The notice of intent to remove and the statement of reason shall be delivered by mail to the official. Within 14 days of delivery of the notice, the official may request a hearing before the appointed authority, which is the city council. If they fail to request the hearing, the official may be discharged. The appointed official may be represented by counsel at the hearing. Within 10 days after the hearing is adjourned, the appointing authority, which is the council, may by a majority vote remove the official for good cause. Then the decision to remove the official and the reasons are delivered by mail to the last known address, and that's it. And this final section was the same wording that was used before. Nothing in this section shall be construed as granting right to a hearing when an appointed official who has been appointed to a fixed term is not reappointed when the appointed official's original term expires. So unfortunately, Scott and I were not able to discuss this ahead of time. So you guys are all hearing this for the first time. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts and concerns on this.
I think for me, just wondering what's the thinking behind not putting business days. Because when I hear times like 10 days, I wonder, about holidays and the weekends.
Okay. So 14 days is calendar days, or 10 days is calendar days, right? So your question is, why aren't we using business days?
Correct, especially when it's something that is contentious like this.
Okay. I think that's a good point.
Somewhere
So-
else in the charter, we had a distinction for similar reasons, right? We used business days versus calendar days. And I don't remember where it is, but I'm with Cleone. I would always err on particularly with contentious issues, business days to give an extra little buffer there.
I can't remember exactly where we did that, but something tells me it was depending on the number of days we're talking about, but I can't be sure. So, whatever. I wouldn't object necessarily either way. But I think we did that somewhere, but something in my head says it depends on how many days you're talking about, or what the reason is.
So you're definitely, by doing that, we're definitely extending the time here. So this would be 2 weeks. If we make it business days, it's going to be 3 weeks.
We did the computation of time in 9-6. It was 9-6D.
It does say calendar days. It says if 7 days or less, but it does say only business days. Not including Saturdays, Sundays, or legal holidays shall be counted.
Yeah, so I knew I saw it somewhere. We had it that it depends on the number of days you're referring to.
So in this example where it's 10 days, it would be, I guess this clause here makes it clear that it is 10 days is 10 calendar days.
Or 14, yeah, 14.
Yeah, I guess, and if that is the case, it says otherwise specified. I'd like to propose that we do specify it, because I can see how that can be abused. If you really want to get rid of someone, because part of the language says unless there's that appeal, you can manipulate that to really get someone out and shave off several days if you have it, say, between January and December, where there's a lot of holidays, and then buffer it up against some weekends. So I'd like to propose that we specify business days. to give as much time for that to play out for someone who feels that they want to maintain their seat, to have enough time to appeal the decision to get rid of them.
Would we then need to define business day? I think that's my
Yes.
concern here is if we have that, then we have to define business days. And one thing that didn't occur to me before with 9-6D is we talk about holidays, but we don't really define which holidays, federal holidays, state holidays, what counts as a holiday? Is it holidays recognized by the,
Legal holidays isn't,
Yeah, but even legal, there's the disparity between federal, state, and even in county, right? Like Suffolk County has Evacuation Day, nobody else here does, or Patriots Day, nobody else does.
I would say anything where the building is closed, right? Because it's really determining having access to local government and being able to execute some of these things. So whatever our local government references as a holiday should be what I would suggest that we follow.
okay.
You mean
I
we could put in the
agree with-
definitions, business day is a day in which the government of Bridgewater is open for the normal course of business. You will get people that say, well, I can do stuff online, so it's open all the time. But
Hmm.
So the way I interpret that, it says if it's less than 7 days, then you would only count business days. And if it's more than 7 days, then you would include every day.
Yes.
Yep, unless otherwise specified, that's correct.
By Mass General Law. I don't know. I think to me, it's just, I don't know. I kind of like the way it's written. I think making business days creates some additional complications. To me, a day is a day.
Yeah.
A calendar day is a calendar day.
Yeah, I hear you about
Another-
it being a little bit more complicated, but if those days you cannot act upon something that you're trying to enforce or defend, then it is not a useful day. In most of the other situations, it doesn't matter. But if you can't reach someone in the government, if you can't plan a meeting where an appeal can actually be scheduled on that day, then how can we really indicate that all the days are available when they really are not?
Leonie, to your point, I think you make a valid point that 10 days could open the door to, to some possible shady behavior in the future of, just really cutting the time off, making the notice delivered on a Friday and then, on Friday before a long weekend or something like that. Why don't we just, instead of making it 10 days, just make it 14 days like the other one?
well,
And
isn't it
that way we have
14
2
days?
full weeks.
I think it is 14 days. It's not 10.
There's another one right there. Oops. Scroll down, number 5.
Oh, yeah, 10 days.
But that's for the appointing
That's very
authority.
low. Yeah.
I know, you think you want to add a few extra days? I think that would solve the problem of making sure there's adequate notice. And it doesn't, push us into this realm of having to split the hairs over business days and holidays and weekends and all of that. So it would meet the same goal, just without the added complications.
When somebody requests a public hearing, they have 14 days, granted not Saturday, they wouldn't necessarily have Saturdays and Sundays to request, but that's just a matter of requesting a public hearing. It doesn't mean the public hearing has to be within the 14 days. It's just them requesting it. So, and then the public hearing could be, after that, wouldn't it? I mean, they're requesting a public hearing. Does that mean that it has to be 14 days from then, or just they're requesting it and then it will be scheduled?
Yeah, they have 14 days to request it, so.
Right, so they still have time
Yeah,
for the public hearing. It's not 14 days and out the door.
I mean, giving somebody 2 calendar weeks to request a hearing sounds reasonable to me. I mean, we're not saying how the request has to be made. It can be made via email. So somebody could do that on the weekend, they could send an email requesting the hearing.
Yeah, right. It just says request. It doesn't say request, processed, approved, etc. Like I agree with Janet. Like they have 14 days to. I think leaving without business days is sufficient.
And then within 10 days, so 10 calendar days after the hearing is adjourned, the appointing authority may remove the appointed official for good cause. So they're probably not going to remove them on a weekend, right? Maybe that's where business days comes in. Because that would be essentially 2 weeks. If it was business days, it would be two weeks, right?
For 10
Yeah.
days, yes.
yeah.
10 business days.
Right.
Whoops, sorry, I got fat fingers tonight. So within 10 business days after the hearing is adjourned, the appointing authority may remove the appointed official for good cause. So that's a 2-week period given business days. Up here, we're saying a 2-week notice to request the hearing. That would include weekends, because the assumption is they can request it, from home. They can send an email, they can send a letter in the mail, they can do whatever. So they can do that on weekends too.
I would really suggest here that we be consistent. If we're going to use 10 business days in one section, that we would use within 14 business days, just for consistency's sake for this section.
Okay.
Keep the time frame the same. Instead of 14 days, change it to 10 business days. Still a
Okay.
2-week period.
Still a 2-week period. Okay.
They don't have to have any time frame of when the public hearing will be, right? That's not important in this section.
What was your question again, Janice?
Well, if they request, I was just curious, if they request a public hearing, how much time does the appointing authority have to schedule that? Like, do they have a time frame? I'm just curious, do they have a time frame as to how long they can wait to have a public hearing, or is it scheduled right away? How is that determined? Anybody know?
It's not specified, I guess, I mean, is that something we want to add that says if a hearing is requested by the official, the hearing must be scheduled within so many days of the notice?
But whoever's appealing, or requesting the public hearing would need time to get their stuff together, or if they're going to ask for counsel, they would need time. So I'm not sure how much time would be reasonable. That I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I
was
think we
just
could,
curious.
I think we could really be opening up a can of worms here
Right,
if we,
specify.
specify so many, minor details in this. I don't know. Well-
I was just curious because I'm sitting here going, okay, they can request it, but is it somewhere that specifies how much time anybody has for this? But it was just a curiosity question for myself, and I didn't know if that mattered.
Okay, so we've changed to 10 business days for both. So that's gonna, now this is 10 business days here. And down here.
Should we define what that request should be? Should it be written request for a hearing? Like, does it stipulate what that should look like, that public hearing? Can they call and just be yelling like, I want a hearing? Or should it be a written request for a hearing versus even email?
It should be written either with a letter or email in some way, because you can back it up. If you have something written, there's a backup. You can't just do it by a phone call. I
Okay,
would,
so we say here, within 10 business days of delivery of the notice, the appointed official may request a public hearing before the appointing authority. So you want to say request, submit a written request for a public hearing?
Yes. I think, and it can be that it's usually, at least on the federal level, it's signed written requests, which means that it can be something that's a PDF that's emailed versus another format. But I don't even know if that's a dated requirement, signed written request at this point.
I would just do written request. I wouldn't do signed written request. I would just straight written.
Okay, so I've changed it there. May, okay, I think I've got those cared for now. So are you guys okay with the way I broke it out into two sub-processes? Is that clearer, more helpful to understand it rather than just all being lumped together in one paragraph?
yes.
Yeah, I think that really.
I think
does a
so.
good job.
Okay,
Much
I-
easier.
I just have a couple typos I was
sure.
in the first paragraph, where it says multiple member body unless the appointing, it looks like it's spaced too much between.
No,
the.
well, it might be, I don't know. No, it's, yeah, I guess it is, yep. Sometimes Word just does it on its own.
Oh, yeah, it's spell check. Sometimes I don't throw it out. And it's probably my eyes, when on some of the words public hearing, it's probably because to me, they almost look like it's one word, but it's probably just the way the word is. like public hearing. I guess it's spaced. I see public hearing on some of the spots and I thought.
Like right here.
Yeah, or maybe
Fine.
it's just,
Sometimes I think word in the way, when it does a word wrap, it's spacing things out more. It looks funny, but in reality, there's only one space there.
there is, okay, it looks like it's together, so that's why the C and the H look so close. I couldn't tell if it was me or.
Yeah.
But-
I think
See that-
once we get the charter sort of, finished from a content perspective, we'll all go through it with a fine tooth comb and look at all these, grammatical kinds of things and tighten it up. But if we can catch them now, that's great. But if we miss them, we'll get them later.
Yeah, I just noticed that space in the top.
Are you gonna
paragraph.
are you gonna take out the number 10 on 21?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yep, good catch. Okay, I think we've got everything here. Any further comments or discussion? Or is someone willing to move to accept the revisions to section 9-7 as discussed?
I, Scott Pitta, move to adapt the changes to section 9-7 as discussed.
I, Thomas Golden, will second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we'll need a roll call on this, please.
Ed,
Yes?
Cleone,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you. That was good discussion. All right, next item was the section 9-9 update. So this was the section that I added and we discussed last time that pertains to enforcement of the charter provisions. I went through it again and made some updates, as you'll see in yellow here. Let me just read through it again so you're all clear on what it says. I added the first sentence, which is different. It says, "It shall be the responsibility of all elected officials to ensure the enforcement of and compliance with this charter. In the event there is an allegation of a violation of the charter or failure to follow its provisions, such allegation shall be referred to the city council president, who shall in writing cause notice to be given to such agency or employee via the city manager, directing compliance with the charter. In the event such review shall not resolve the matter, the city council president shall refer the allegation to the city attorney, who shall report findings on the allegation to the city council president within 90 days. If a violation is found to have occurred, the city council president shall direct such action or changes in procedure as shall ensure compliance with the charter. This provision shall comprise administrative procedure and remedy for alleged violations of this charter. If it shall appear to the city council that the council president personally is not following the provisions of the charter, it shall by resolution direct the attention of the council president to those areas in which the council members believe there's a failure to comply with the charter provisions. The provisions made available in MGL Chapter 231A may be used to determine the rights, duties, status, or other legal relations arising under this charter, including any question of construction or validity which may be involved in such determination. So that's my revision. I think it's a little clearer now than it was before. I'd be interested in your thoughts.
So I wanted to, great job, first of all. I do want to bring to your attention that using the word shall, we want to make sure that we are sure that we're using it correctly. there's three, and Scott could correct me where there is. It's shall, must, or may. Shall is optional. So we need to make sure that some of the things where we're using shall, should we be using must? Because that's more of a requirement.
Okay. So in the second paragraph, for example, in the event such review shall not resolve the matter. So what's the difference between shall and may?
So let's start with the first sentence, right? It
Oh.
shall be the responsibility of all elected officials. If that is optional, then that's appropriate. But if it must be the responsibility of all elected officials, the must means that that's a requirement versus shall, it's optional. It's just an optional thing. So do we want it to be all elected officials? And if we do, it should say it must be the responsibility of all elected officials.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does, yeah.
I think I would suggest a slightly different twist on it. Instead of must or shall be, is. Use the word is. Because you're identifying a specific responsibility and the person's responsible. So
Okay,
that assigns the responsibility to the elected officials.
okay. That's simpler, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. You okay with that, Cleone?
Yeah, in this case, you need a space there, but I think I'm going to read through the rest to see if is makes sense in all instances, because we use shall quite a bit.
Okay, so let's go down here. There is a space there, by the way. In the event there is an allegation of a violation of the charter or failure to follow its provisions, such allegation shall be referred to the council president.
So that's a case where it sounds like it should be must.
I just looked up shall legal definition, probably Scott knows better. It just says when drafting a legal document, the term shall is used to say that something must be done as opposed to the term may, which simply means that something is allowed. So in a legal document, shall means must.
Oh,
That's actually, I was under that same impression as well.
And
well, if it means the same thing, don't you think must is maybe clearer for somebody that doesn't know what shall means? Go ahead, Janet.
well, I was just reading, I read that, but then I see is shall legally binding. And this thing says nearly every jurisdiction has held the word shall. It's confusing because it can also mean may, will, or must. So then it's, if you're referencing a legal document, it's must. So is it going to be misinterpreted by some people that don't realize this is a legal document?
Right, yeah.
You guys have me digging out my Black's Law Dictionary.
I like the idea of putting must in here because I believe that if there is an allegation, it must go to the council president.
I agree. That sounds good.
So then it says the council president who shall in writing.
I think shall should stay there though.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Who shall in writing cause notice to be given, blah, blah, blah. Is everybody okay with shall here?
Yeah, and I just see
That,
here,
yeah, that works for me.
yeah. The legal community is moving to use must more than shall.
Good. We're in the right direction then. Okay.
And charter needs to be capitalized.
Yep, good catch. Okay, so we go to the next paragraph. It says, in the event such review shall not resolve the matter. Should that be will? In the event such review will not resolve the matter?
May not, no, it's may not. If in the event the review may not resolve the matter,
May not resolve the matter, the council president shall refer the allegation, or must refer, or will refer, I don't know.
Instead of may not, what if you use the term does not?
that, yeah. That's better.
Okay. The city council
Yeah.
president shall refer the allegation to the attorney.
Here, that more, it may be more appropriate to say may refer the allegation to the city attorney, just in case that in years that come up, there is an alternative.
So may is optional, right?
That
Yes.
is correct.
Somebody's got crickets in the background.
Yeah, that's me.
Are you outside, Scott?
No, I just have the windows open.
Does city have to be capitalized?
Good question. I'll make it, I don't think it has to be. Maybe city council should be. This, again, this is another thing, once we go through at the end, we'll go through the whole thing and for consistency purposes, make everything the same.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that and I was wondering, because city managers capitalize, but we don't capitalize. But I did look up when you're supposed to capitalize city and stuff. So I pulled that up so that we could go over that.
Okay. All right, so may refer the allegation to the city attorney who shall report findings to the city council. We okay with this shall here?
I'm wondering if that should be must.
Must?
Because once the city makes a finding, we don't want it to be optional that he presents it or not to the city council.
Okay. Good point. All right. Down here, if a violation is found to have occurred, the city council president shall direct such action or changes in procedure as shall ensure compliance with the charter.
First one sounds like it should be a must. And that second one probably should be changes in procedures and ensure,
Or that
and
will,
ensure compliance.
or that will ensure compliance, or what did you say?
Let me think it through. I don't-
Or how about as to ensure compliance?
Yeah,
Yep, that's good, Darren.
yeah, that shall sounded out of place.
Okay, and then this provision shall comprise administrative procedure and remedy.
I don't even understand that sentence, so that's why I'm silent.
So it's basically saying that this whole provision may result in administrative procedure that will remedy the alleged violations of the charter. So if there's it's an ordinance or a bylaw or something that maybe has to be put in place to help ensure compliance, then that will happen. That's the way I read it.
Should it say comprise of? It's a funny sentence. This provision shall comprise of administrative procedure and remedy for, maybe not.
I think it's legalese, you know, I mean,
Seems like there's something missing.
Or this provision will comprise of?
Yes, that works. That's it right there.
what is it again?
This provision will comprise of?
Will comprise of administrative procedure and remedy.
No, to remedy.
You said of, though. This provision will comprise,
Of administrative.
Of administrative procedures to remedy the alleged violations of this charter. Does that work?
That makes sense.
this provision.
Yeah, that makes more sense to
Will
me.
comprise of administrative procedures. That still doesn't sound right to me.
That sounds better to me than it did before. That, I think it missed that word of.
Well, I don't think we need the word of. Let me just take it out temporarily. It is, this provision will comprise administrative procedures to remedy alleged violations of this charter. The of was throwing me off.
And without the of, it's throwing me off.
Yeah, comprise, it just.
I think
this
it's the
provision
comprise that's throwing us off.
Will comprise administrative procedures.
So
There's a-
will include,
There's something missing. There's
Okay,
a word
well,
missing. It's-
this provision will comprise of administrative procedures to remedy alleged violations. I guess that's the word comprise. I mean, it's being used as a verb. Will comprise of administrative procedures. Is that contain? The same thing as contain, or? I don't know.
I just didn't think it flowed, to go from comprise to administrative procedures, that they just didn't, it seemed like something was missing.
Comprise means to consist of or to be made of.
No, I just want to say consist. That sounds better
Yes,
to me.
yes.
Thank you, Scott.
Consist of,
Should we say include instead of consist?
And then get rid of the of.
I don't know. I mean,
This
but
provision includes administrative procedures.
No, I don't know if include would be the right word.
right.
Because
if you say-
consist would be, to me reads, that's the only requirement, not a minimum requirement.
Well, the comprise means consist of, be made up of. To contain,
I'm okay with consist if we can just move on. I mean, if we want to change it, we can change it, but
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I'm fine with it.
I don't want to get hung up on one word here. So now we get down to the next paragraph. It says, if it shall appear to the city council that the president is not following the provisions of the charter, then it shall, by resolution. Here we go again with the shalls. How about just say, if it appears to the city council?
yeah, get rid of that one.
Put an S on the end. If it appears to the city council that the council president personally is not following the provisions of the charter, comma, the city council, I'm gonna repeat city council. Shall by resolution.
I have no problem with shall there.
The city
Myself.
Shall by resolution direct the attention of the council president. Yeah,
Ed, here's a little technicality on this. The council can only act by a vote. So they would need a resolution prior to this. Because it can't appear to the city council that the president is not following the charter unless they have some sort of a vote.
well, that's what the resolution's gonna be, Scott.
Right,
So-
but how do you get to that point, is what I'm saying, is
Well,
it can't possibly appear to the city council. It could appear to an individual city council member.
Okay, so what if we say if it appears to a member of the city council?
I think that's more appropriate in this case.
If it appears to a member of the city council that the council, should there be a comma here? That the council president is personally should
Do we
say,
need personally? What do we need personally?
No, I don't think we do.
that the council president is not following the provisions of the charter, the city council shall by resolution direct the attention of the council president to those areas.
I would put the council member must present a resolution before the city council or to the city council,
Where is this, Scott?
where it says the city council shall by resolution.
Yeah,
The city council can't propose a resolution. A council member can propose a resolution for the city council. So it would have to be the council member must present a resolution.
sorry about this.
It's all right.
Must present, I got fat fingers tonight. Sent a resolution
To the city council, directing the attention of the council president. Yeah, I think the rest of that is fine.
Let's read the whole thing. If it appears to a member of the city council, do I have to, yeah, that the council president is not following the provisions of the charter, the city council member must present a resolution to the city council directing the attention of the council president to those areas in which the council members believe there is a failure to comply.
Yeah, I think where it says the city council member must present a resolution to the city council for a vote.
Good, I like that.
Now, what if there's more than two members? So it doesn't matter in this case if it's a member versus, say, there's
It-
three
it
members.
takes- Yeah, it takes one person to start it, others can join in, right?
That's what I was thinking, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, I think
that's good,
they can
Janet.
sign on.
Okay. You want to study it for a few more minutes and then if we feel good about it, somebody can move to approve it?
Can you move it up a little bit so I could see the last few lines? Thank you so much. So I, Cleone Mainville, motion to accept the changes made under section 9-9.
I, Thomas Golden, will second.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we need a roll call to approve changes to section 9-9 as discussed.
Ed,
Yes,
Cleone,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is approved.
great. Thank you for that, folks. Okay, the last thing that I caught after the meeting the other night was we voted on Article 10. We voted to remove this piece here because the clerk, we're going to keep the clerk elected. But we didn't remove this piece here. So it says this charter shall become fully effective upon ratification by the voters as provided for by the Mass General laws, should be period. Not except as provided in this section. There's nothing else in the section. At least that's my feeling. You guys may feel differently about it.
I say remove it if there's nothing
Yeah.
that it pertains to.
Yeah, it only makes sense. There's nothing though.
You agree with that, Scott?
Yes, I agree with that.
Because nothing's going to be added unless the charter is changed. So for to all intents and purposes, this one section is basically just saying that the charter will become fully effective upon ratification by the voters as provided by MGL. That's it, period. So if someone would like to make a motion to accept this other change to section 10.1.
I,
I,
Steve,
Darren Boston, make a motion to accept the change to section 10.1.
Thank you, Darren.
I, Steve Purcell, second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, we need a roll call to approve changes to section 10.1 as discussed.
Ed,
Yes.
Cleone,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, so that's it on old business. And we have basically now completed our exercise of going through the entire charter. So what we need to do now is we need to go back and look at the decision matrix to ensure that everything that we intended to cover has been covered. Not only from what we got from the 2014 Charter Review Committee and the 2017 Rules and Procedures Committee, but also the public forum and the employee questionnaire and any other things that we have added. So let me share my screen again.
Ed, I had one question on that time of taking effect. We do have a provision in this proposal that adds a stipend for the council members. And we are going to present this to the council. The council then presents it to the voters. Do we want to, I know it's addressed in the section about the stipend. I'm just thinking out loud. Do we want to have a reference to that?
Or
Trying to find
even restate it, you mean?
Yeah, well,
Let me share my screen and go back up to that section again.
I think it's section 2. It's like 212. I found it. It might be redundant to do that, but I was just thinking out loud, and I wanted other folks' thoughts on it. Because we do,
212?
we do say, yep, right there, this provision shall take effect, shall not take effect until 3 years has elapsed from the date of adoption. I mean, I don't think we need to restate it, but
Where are you
So-
thinking of restating it on number 10?
yeah,
I think
as
that,
I see it, I think, yeah, I think it's covered in the language you have there with as provided for by the Mass General laws. Because then that would reference you back to the Mass General law that is indicated in 212. So I guess it's covered.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily say when. It just says it will become fully effective upon ratification by the voters. So that implies that it's after an election, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then the language we have in 212 indicates the stipend wouldn't kick in for, yeah, so like I said, I just wanted to kind of chew that one out a little bit.
Nope, that's good. I'm glad you brought it up. Okay. Let me share again and go look at the. Okay, let me reorient you folks to this. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically what we did at the very beginning was we went through all the changes that were recommended by the 2014 CRC and the 2017 Council Rules and Procedures Committee. We also added a column for the 2018 legislature, but we never really got any input on what the legislature changed or not. And then I added a column from the public, and that would be things from the public forum or the questionnaire, et cetera. This column basically represents us. And what I've done here is anything that we have completed is green. Anything that's yellow is still pending. Anything that's red means we completed it, but we disagreed with it. In other words, we didn't agree to go forward with it. Column H was basically what the type was it an add or delete or modification or a change? Column I was the date that we took action. And then J is going to be the second date that when we do another vote. So these two columns were in reference to how the changes would be rolled out. They're kind of irrelevant right now because the ruling that we got from the town attorney was basically that, we're not going to go through an amendment process. We have to go through the special act process for all changes. So they're there, but we haven't done anything with either of these. So, and what I've been doing after every meeting is I go back and look at this and I update it based on what I, understood that we approved during the meetings. So for example, the first one here was, clarified that one of the two required public meetings shall be the annual state of the town. And that's in section 2-3.C5. It was recommended by both of these groups. We agreed with it and we voted on December 2nd to add that in, or to keep it in because it was already added in. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but what I want to do is go into the yellow ones. And if somebody wants to hold me accountable by going back and reviewing this whole document against the charter, that might be a good exercise because, I'm human and I make mistakes. So maybe
And I'll do that.
maybe there's some things that, thank you, Tom. Maybe there's some things in here that I missed or that I inaccurately portrayed. So, going down to this line here, this was something that got raised as a concern as we were discussing vacancies in the town council. And I just put it in here as a placeholder. But it wasn't recommended by either the CRC or the Rules and Procedures Committee. But it is, the section that it pertains to is 2.5C. So it basically was, if no citizens are willing to pull papers to get on the ballot to run as a district councilor, how is that vacancy handled? That's basically what it talks about. So if you want to, we want to go back and look at section 2-5C, I'll pull up the charter and we can look at it and see if it's adequately handled or whether we need to make some changes to that. Okay? So let me pull the charter back up. Whoops, sorry. So it was 2-5C. All right, this 2-5. So this is all about filling of vacancies. Counselor at large, district counselor. So we'll read through this. So this is a situation now, remember, if no one decides to run in a particular district, or I guess it's at large too, it could be both. If there's a vacancy in one of the positions. So it says here is if a vacancy occurs in the office of counselor at large or district counselor, and there is no available candidate to fill the vacancy in the manner provided in subsection A or B of the section. So those are the two sections above here that talk about how to fill vacancies. The vacancy shall be filled by the remaining members of the city council. What that means is the city council will vote to appoint someone to fill that vacancy. So it says to be eligible for election by the city council, a person shall be a registered voter of the city, and in the case of a district councilor, a resident of such a district. Persons elected to fill a vacancy by the city council shall serve only until the next regular election, or if so decided, a special election, at which time the vacancy shall be filled by the voters, and the person chosen to fill the vacancy shall be sworn and shall serve for the remainder of the unexpired term. Persons serving as city councilors under this section shall not be entitled to have the words candidate for re-election printed against their names on the election ballot. So we just had a situation last year where this clause was activated, and that was when Peter Columbotus from District 5 decided not to run last April, and no one from his district pulled papers. So there was no one on the ballot to represent District 5. So the council voted to appoint Peter to fill what used to be his position, to fill it for this year, which he's been doing. So the question I have for you all is, do we feel comfortable that this section covers the scenario where, you know, there's no citizen willing to run for a particular council position? It then gets left up to the council to appoint someone from the district or from the town for an at-large position that's vacant.
I don't quite understand the sentence. It's a long sentence, you know, persons elected to fill a vacancy of the city council shall serve only until the next regular election, And if so decided, a special election, at which time the vacancy shall be filled by the voters and the person chosen to fill the vacancy shall be sworn and so serve for the remainder of unexpired term. I don't know what that's saying.
What that's saying is that the person elected to fill the vacancy will only serve until the next election. You understand that, right?
Yeah, which
So-
could be 3 years or.
No,
next-
no, no,
for
no.
the- oh, only for the 1 year or whatever. Right, okay.
Right, so for example, Peter was elected to fill a vacancy for this year only.
Okay,
And then there's a new election in April. So now there'll be a new person chosen by the voters to fill that vacancy.
if somebody pulls papers, I mean, it would be, could be in the same situation if no one pulls papers again.
Right? Then the council would have to elect somebody or appoint somebody again. But in Peter's case, you know, he resigned and then pulled papers again, so he's back on the ballot again. He took advantage of the loophole.
So you can resign, if you're filling that spot, you can resign during that time? Is that-
He
I don't know the time.
did the same thing that Bill Wood did. He took advantage of the loophole. So he resigned and then pulled papers and he's back on the ballot for his same position again.
Mm. And if no one had pulled papers, you could end up putting the same person back in for another year.
You could, assuming the person would want it. If they don't want it, then they're gonna have to reach out to the district, to the community and get some volunteers, I guess. I mean, you can't force people to run. But I mean, in any elected position, if nobody runs, then either the position stays vacant or it gets filled with an appointment.
This
on a
part,
temp-
sorry.
No,
This
go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead.
the part that says the person chosen to fill the vacancy shall be sworn and shall serve for the remainder of the unexpired term. Which person are they referring to? The one elected by the voters or the one elected by the city council? And if you're elected by the voters, does that mean you're only going to be there for a certain amount of time, a couple of years?
Yes. So for example, Peter, even though he's back on the ballot right now to run for his same position that he just held, it's only for a 2-year term. Councilors serve 3 years, but because he already filled a year of that as an appointed, under appointment, now if he runs and gets elected by the citizens, he can only fill 2 years of that term.
Okay. It's just, it didn't specify, it says, at which time the vacancy shall be filled by the voters and the person chosen to fill the vacancy shall be sworn in. So they're referring to that at that point, the person voted on by the voters.
Correct.
Little wordy.
So my opinion on this is I feel comfortable that this section C adequately provides a process for addressing the issue that we discussed previous that was on the decision matrix, was basically if nobody decides to run, then what happens? And this it has been proven to work. It worked last year. So I think it, as written, should stay.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, same here. I think it's good.
How does
Okay.
this affect the term limit things that doesn't play into it, right?
It does not, yeah, it doesn't play into it. This is strictly filling a vacancy. I mean, it's the only thing that's somewhat related to it is what we just discussed about the unexpired term, is it's a 3-year term. So that's it. But as far as term limits, it has nothing to do with term limits. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to go back to the decision matrix. So in terms of adding language to address when no citizens are willing to serve as a district counselor, sounds like we don't feel we need to add anything here. Right, so I'm gonna just change this to say read, just to be read, so we don't need to do anything, we don't agree with it. Okay, all right, moving down to the next row here. This was something that came up at the public forum. It said improve communication with citizens, add a counselor requirement for citizen meetings. And it's listed as 2.6-C. So let's go back to the charter. 2-6-C is rules of procedure for the city council. So do we want to add something in here that requires the council members to have regular meetings with their constituents?
I don't think so.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, I'm with Scott on that. I don't think so.
I just think it's a political question, and if the voters don't think that the council member is being responsive enough, then the solution to that is at the ballot box.
Unfortunately, though, that could be a 3-year span of time.
Yes.
You know, so if a city councilor is not doing a good job of communicating with his or her constituents, that's a long time to wait before you know.
It is, and if it's egregious, there's a recall provision. But
You know,
I have done this. I've actually tried to schedule meetings, and I sat in the memorial building for 4 hours and nobody showed up. And I think requiring council members to do that is going to make it even harder to find people to serve.
So I'd like to find a middle ground between having the ballot box be the deciding factor, because our survey and several other surveys that have been done by different committees, the school and even DICE, the group that I represent, is showing time and time again that the residents do not feel that they have a clear path of communication, two-way communication with elected officials that represent them. So although I understand the requirement around a meeting, that doesn't lend itself to enough flexibility, but there needs to be something where we indicate that there's an expectation of two-way communication between elected officials and those that they serve. And just because a meeting is set and no one attends, that usually puts it on the residents being disengaged. But it really means that that specific outreach is inadequate. So I would be looking for language that says effective two-way communication, so folks can get creative as to the best way to lend itself. But as is, a lot of these positions and what they consider community engagement is ineffective, and they check the box off. I had office hours, but no one showed up, and so they're checking the box as if that's true, if community engagement. So I don't know if this is the right place for it, but I would really want there to be written expectation that elected officials communicate with those that they were elected to serve.
So could someone correct me if I'm wrong? Is there a citizens comment portion during the town meetings with town council?
Every meeting, twice a meeting.
Right. So isn't that an opportunity for residents to meet with their counselors or directly address them?
It's just not two-way, right, Tom? You get 3 minutes and they're not allowed to respond. And so you find yourself speaking out Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's just a personal situation, but that's not two-way communication.
And there's no
They're not
follow-up.
required to respond back.
Right.
Is there a way, I presented that question at the last town council, because I hear people frustrated, I'm frustrated. I mean, the very first time I went to a town council or a planning board, I didn't realize, I was asking a question and they just had blank stares. And then they explained it to me that people don't realize that they're not allowed to have a two-way conversation. I think they should be able to answer, they can answer certain questions for clarification. But I made a comment, people put legitimate concerns and they say, thank you for taking the time to speak to us. But then we never see, or very rarely see, anything resulting from it. And I made the suggestion to, if they could put it on their agenda, if it's, not, if it's too soon for the next one, but the one after, address those concerns. And so we can feel like we're being listened to, because that's a lot of the problem, is that people speak, but they don't feel like they're being listened. They're not hearing them, or I don't know which way you want to put it. They're hearing them, but not listening to them, or listening to them and not hearing them. You just don't feel like you waste your time, because they can't say anything back. So if they can't say anything back, then put it on the agenda for the next time. These are addressing public comments. Why
So,
couldn't-
yeah, so Janet, I actually proposed something maybe a year or 2 years ago, and Tim Fitzgibbons actually made a resolution at one of the meetings.
Yeah.
And they basically gave it to the Mike Dutton. And they said it was going to be Mike's job to take notes during the citizens forum, the public forum of the meeting, both front and back, to list the questions and any follow-ups that needed to happen. And so Tim took a stand on it and tried to push it forward, but it never went anywhere. I kept getting up and I kept asking, where is this? And it never went anywhere. So there was at least one attempt. It sounds like you've made another attempt to get feedback properly communicated back to citizens when they ask questions or make points.
I did get a response from one of them. It said, that he's followed up personally with speakers or citizens to let them know whether or not he's found out something that, or what direction they're heading. But he says he would have to determine if this is a charter issue or an administrative issue, that maybe the president has an agenda item that addresses previous concerns, because I said that put it on their agenda to address the previous comments from, the next time.
It's not a charter issue.
So, so I didn't know where it lied, but I'm trying to read this charter comments here. It allows the public comments, but it doesn't say anything about communication. It does say in number 7 of the section we're in about allowing public comment. So is there a way of adding to be able to communicate with people somewhere now? And then it would be in the charter and they'd have to do it.
Yeah, so the end of that sentence, right, says the city council may promulgate rules that regulate such period of public comment as deemed appropriate.
Well, period would be the 3-minute rule.
And that 3-minute rule serves a very valid purpose. Without that, with some of these more contentious items that come forward, these town council meetings would never end.
And I understand that.
You know what the school committee does? Because this happened to me last week. I get on this. You have to submit to the school committee ahead of time what you want to discuss, and if it doesn't comply with their agenda, or it doesn't comply with their purview as a committee, they won't let you speak. So is that something? I mean, to me, that's one extreme, and I don't agree with it. But I think any citizen should be able to get up and say anything they want, regardless if it's on the agenda or not.
Right.
But there's got to be some follow through. I mean, citizens getting up and just voicing their opinion, and a lot of times it falls on deaf ears, and then there's never any follow-up.
Right. So,
So maybe maybe there's something we can put in.
I mean, not everything will be followed up on. I mean, sometimes it's just grievance, but if there's there's questions, there's certain concerns, have them on to say, okay, we hear you and this is what we're going to do, or this is why we can't do it. Something, even if it's like, we can't do it because, at least we know you paid attention to our question.
So we've kind of branched off the initial
Sorry.
discussion here. The initial discussion was, do we want to require council members to hold periodic meetings with their constituents? The feedback at the council meetings is a different situation. Cleone, you seem to speak in favor of wanting to have something in the charter that requires it. Would you be willing to try and draft maybe a statement that we could put in somewhere that might address that?
Happy to.
Okay, so I'll put that as an action item for a meeting on the 7th, which is a week from tonight. That you'll come forward with a draft of a statement that might address that issue that we're discussing. Okay, I'm going to stop the discussion on this one now and go back to the decision matrix. So this is the one, Cleone, that you're going to address, right? Section 2-6C.
Correct.
No, for the agenda. Okay, so going down the list here. Now, so this one here, both the CRC and the Rules and Procedures Committee agreed on this one, which was modifying the waiting period for orders and resolutions to 72 hours from 30 days. We disagreed with it and we modified it. So we came up with our own language and we voted and accepted it on 12-2. So we addressed that one. The next one that's yellow. So this was add a recall provision for elected officials, including a 35% registered voter turnout threshold for a valid recall election. I must have missed this one because we did put a recall provision in, right? The question is whether we included a 35% registered voter turnout threshold. Maybe that's why I left it yellow. Let's look at section 3-5 in the charter.
I'm missing 3-5. 3-5.
Oh, where did we put the recall? It's probably under a different, it's under a different section.
It's not on, there's no 3-5.
3-3. Elected official recall provision. Now, let's see, is there anything in here that talks about 35% voter? Nope. That's probably why I left it yellow, because we didn't address the 35% issue.
Did we not address it or did we just not elect to keep it in?
Well, if we had voted, good point.
I'm concerned that as we go through this, are we relitigating issues that we've already talked about?
Well, so Scott, what I'm trying to do is cover everything that we think we need to cover. So,
I guess procedurally, I'm just concerned that, we may be going back and essentially reconsidering things that we've already voted on.
Well, we'd have to go back and look at the minutes although the minutes don't always specifically talk about what we voted on or what we didn't vote on, which just said we approve changes to section whatever, right?
The meetings
So-
are recorded.
Yeah, I know. I think what I'm pretty sure that my recollection on this one is that we either didn't discuss the 35% registered voter turnout threshold, or we voted not to include it. And I don't remember. So,
I seem to recall us talking about some form of a voter threshold, but where that was within the recall provision, I'm not sure. I know we were talking about percentages and what was an appropriate percentage for different levels of the recall, and we went through a lot of that.
okay, well, I don't think I don't think there's anything in the charter right now.
I guess the question is, was it left out intentionally?
Yep.
Yeah.
But you usually have what was there before and what we took, you don't remove it completely. You usually highlight or something.
Right, I
don't see
do.
Highlighted.
So, I mean, we can just, if we want to just say, assume that we voted it down, or we could vote on it now. Do we want to put a threshold in to the recall provision? Or are we happy just leaving it without a threshold?
I think we put a lot of work into what we did come up with.
Right,
And it gets very dangerous trying to, make changes now, an hour and 50 minutes into a 2-hour meeting on something that substantive.
yeah. Okay, well, if you want, then we can end the discussion on this one and maybe go back and do some research before the next meeting and see if I can identify, did we in fact vote to keep it out? Or did we, or whatever we did, see what I can find.
Yeah, I'm just concerned procedurally that we'd be essentially amending something that we had passed after it has already passed. Once a bill or a resolution is passed, going back to amend it is a different procedure.
Well, we're gonna vote a second round in all these. Right, so what if we decide to vote differently than the first time around? You saying we're gonna go use a different procedure, Scott?
I guess if you're going to try to relitigate something, then it's really a motion to reconsider if you're going to change something.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of the second vote was just to make sure that everything still made sense, that we were looking for inconsistencies within the charter.
Yeah,
And that was the purpose, not to make substantive changes within an individual section.
that's fair. My feeling is we've been doing this now since November and we're all learning a lot as we go through this.
Right.
And we may look at something a little differently now than we looked at it a couple of months ago.
Oh,
That's all.
absolutely. And I think we've done that pretty much consistently as we've gone along. We did it tonight where we said, oh, wait a minute, maybe we need to add something to the definitions or take something away, or, and I think that's what we need to be looking at for the second vote, is make sure that everything's consistent and nothing conflicts.
Yeah, okay. All right, so on this one here, I'll go back and just relook again at the recall provision for the 35% threshold, confirm that we've already discussed that. I'll just do one more here. This was something that the CRC recommended in section 4-2A11, where they added language that enables the town manager to award goods and services contracts for up to $25,000 without town council approval. So I'm not sure that we voted on that or whether we even considered that when we discussed that section. You want to look at it? 4-2A11.
Doesn't mention any dollar amount.
For 2A11. To be responsible for the purchase of all supplies, materials, and equipment, and approve the award of all contracts. So obviously, the Rules and Procedures Committee didn't agree with it, so they didn't change it because we're using theirs as a baseline. So there's nothing in here that talks about it. If you go back and you look at and I have a paper copy here of the CRC version. They worded it such. It says to be responsible for the purchase of all supplies, materials, and equipment, and approve the award of all goods and services contracts associated with the purchase of these contracts up to the amount of $25,000. Any amount over $25,000 requires approval of the council. So they wanted to restrict the amount that the city manager could spend up to $25,000, and then it required additional approval.
Do we have, I know there was a version of the charter that included notes in the edits that was from Dutton. Do we have any insight about what his feelings are about that threshold? I'm just curious to see if it would impede their ability to do the work that they need to do. I don't know right now, like, how many contracts does that entail, and will that prevent them from doing enough of their work?
Yeah, I think Mike was against that because just for what the point that you make, that it sort of put binders on him in his ability to, be able to manage the town as he sees fit. So, and that's why it didn't end up in the version that we're using was the version that Mike and the Rules and Procedures Committee had approved at the end. So,
my threshold question is always, is the charter the appropriate place for such a restriction or such a provision? And for this particular matter, I say no.
Yeah.
That is a town council resolution matter or a directive to the town manager. I think
they could always issue an ordinance or something to that effect, right? If they were unhappy.
Right. Because 25,000 may be a lot now, but if we do a good job with this charter, that language will still be there in 30, 40, 50 years. And 25,000 may not be enough.
Right. Yep. Okay, so do we want to basically say we don't agree with this one here? We discussed it and we
yeah, I'll go ahead and make that as a motion that that we not adapt any limitation as indicated on the, what is this, the decision matrix, line 71.
Yeah, but it pertained, you can reference the section in the charter. You can say that we don't want to.
Okay. I, Scott Pidham, move that we not adopt the recommendations of the 2014 Charter Review Committee regarding section 4-2A11.
I'll second.
Thank you, guys. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, Scott, Josh, we'll need a roll call. This is to approve Scott's recommendation on 4.2A11.
Okay. Ed,
Yep,
Cleone,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
okay, good. Thank you.
Ed,
All right.
I have a quick question. So it's 7:58. Do we need to have a motion to extend past 8?
No, I'm gonna adjourn, we're gonna stop here.
Okay.
So we're gonna pick up with the decision matrix next time with this row, number 73, with this yellow item here. The two action items I have, Cleone's going to draft something for better communication between council members and their constituents.
Do I send that in advance an email or the day of the meeting?
If you want to send it to me, I'll put it in the mock-up for next time.
Thanks.
Thank you. So she's going to do that, and I'm going to go back and review the recall provision, section 3.5. So that's it, and we'll continue. Our next meeting is a week from tonight, the 7th, and we'll continue to go through the decision matrix here and get through the end of it. And then we'll have accounted for all the suggestions, for changes to the charter. So if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn, that would be great.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
What Cleone's gonna work on, that's just you're talking about for district counselors individually, or is there a way of what I was talking about when you're speaking at a meeting of feedback from the counselors? Is that some way of putting that in a charter, or is that we decided, no, you can't put that in a charter?
So Cleone's going to address the, not just district counselors, but all 9 counselors, something that will talk about, better communication with their constituents. The issue of feedback at council meetings is really, to me, Cleone, Janet,
Well, I don't mean feedback. I mean addressing a concern at a next meeting, not like talking back and forth. I'm not necessarily saying that because the meetings would go on forever. But I'm just saying, pick something and put it on an agenda down the road. That's what I mean by feedback.
I think that's something that should be in the administrative code or in an ordinance or something. I really don't think it should be in the charter, but you guys may disagree with me. You want to make an attempt at drafting something for the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay. And so you're going to talk about citizen feedback.
I don't know if feedback's the right word, but yes, the town council from addressing concerns at another meeting. Yeah, addressing concerns people bring forth during the public forum.
So it's follow-up, citizen follow-up, feedback follow-up at council meetings.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So are we talking about 2 different things here? One is citizen follow-up and the other would be communication with the individual counselors?
One is specific to a council meeting, follow-up to citizens that speak at council meetings.
Mhm.
The other is generally encouraging more open communication between councilors and their constituents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 action items for our next meeting. Any other comments before we adjourn? Okay, I'll entertain a move to adjourn.
And Thomas Golden. Go ahead, Darren.
Darren Boston make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I second.
Thank you, guys. Any further discussion? Okay, Josh, roll call to adjourn.
Ed,
Yes.
Cleone,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janet,
Say Janet, yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thanks all. We'll see you next
All right,
week.
everybody.
Yeah, good night.
Night.